Good evening. Everybody lost their voice. Everybody happy. Everybody got their Wembley tickets. So pleased. This is not the last show of the season. Momentous game. I don't know if we've all recovered yet. Stell, I've not heard the commentary. It was drowned out by everybody else. Great occasion, great day, and on a royal weekend, we're joined by royalty. It's a while since Beth's been with us. I think it must be well over a year. And I've asked you all to say, where are you going to come and watch the game at Wembley from? And you will all lose because Beth, you've just flown in, or you flew in a few days ago for the playoff game at Meadow Lane. Where did you fly in from?
Perth in Western Australia.
How long was that flight?
I think the entire journey was about 22, 23 hours. A couple of flights.
It's a pointless question asking, was it worth it though, isn't it?
Always.
If I asked you that in the 98th minute and the 119th minute, you might not have been answered quite so unequivocally.
Honestly, I was dead convinced it was done and dusted, but worth it, and I'll be there at Wembley, so worth every penny.
Yeah, and for me, probably the best thing as a result of yesterday is that your generation, Beth, 20s and below, this is your first time to go and see Knoxs play at Wembley. And Wembley isn't a great place to lose, but it sure as hell is a better place to go and enjoy a whole week's preparation, take it all in, get the black and white colours out. And I'm so pleased for you and all our age group. My son, the young people, because a lot of young people, mums and dads in the crowd, I noticed on what day was it? I've lost track. Was it Sunday? Stell scored. No, did you score at Wembley? I can't remember. You played at Wembley, obviously.
Yes. I nicked one.
Yeah. So you fulfilled your dream. I was 27 when Knoxs went to Wembley. So I just think great occasion. Stell, I mean, you've commentated on a few Knoxs games. Anything come close to that?
Not that I can remember. I mean, it was just an absolute, just a roller coaster is just a bit of a cliche, isn't it? But it just took you through every emotion possible. The brilliance of sport, the brilliance of football, the brilliance of occasions, and it lived up to it, didn't it? I mean, it looked like it was all going wrong. First half, the frustration to go in at 2-0 down. I don't think anybody foresaw that, certainly with the way that the half had gone, with the missed chances that Knoxs has had. And then, what happened after that is just, like I say, the stuff of fairy tale. And, it leads onto a great day. But, I mean, you just can't do it justice. I can't remember a game like it. We've had plenty of great games. We had a good one with Chesterfield in the playoffs, didn't we? 2-3 years ago, 3-2 at our place. But nothing on a par with that yesterday.
Let me just read a quick few messages of that before my voice gives out, because I'm croaking a bit, and then we'll hear a bit about what Beth's been up to down under. Karen Knight, hello everyone. Ian Cooksey, good evening. Paul Taylor, blood pressure just about returned to normal. I need a new heart, says PJ Defiance. Evening all from Nigel Cameron. Gary Smith says, our Joey is flying in from Dubai. Ian Cooksey, tickets and coach booked, just waiting for Saturday to arrive. Martin Shipley, I never want to go through a game like that again, ever. Stephen Newton, evening all, calm down yet? I had till I just watched commentary cam on YouTube, and I cannot, people take the mick because I can't pronounce Ryan Reynolds' mate. We just call him Rob. I think he was singling out your commentary or retweeting it as well, Stell. So you've got a supporting role to Hollywood.
Yeah, a mate of mine had sent me the link to that. Yeah, so yeah, there we go.
Your acting career, you might blossom into a bit of an acting career.
I very much doubt it.
Chris Gosling, what a day yesterday. One of the most dramatic ever games I've ever attended. Stell House, Charlie's voice today. That was the most iconic Knoxs commentary ever. Gary Smithhurst, early bird tickets paid off. Club Wembley seats 20 notes. No online hassle today. What a weekend, says James Ford. Unbelievable. Unbelievable day trying to get tickets as well. Finally all sorted, including finally getting parking sorted as well. Peter Minkley. That game was why we love football in Notts County. Ian Cooksey. I've been watching Notts for 48 years. And I've never seen anything like yesterday. Late winners are late winners, but yesterday, wow. What else have we got? Apologies if I miss a few out. Utterly crazy, says Paul Hawksworth. Dylan Room, going to be a quiet one at Wembley. No one has a voice left, do they? The pride that has been given back to us by the club is immeasurable, says Ian. Paul Huskisson, I'm absolutely elated. Edge of the seat stuff yesterday. Wowza, haven't recovered, says Lippy Jane. Hi all from Elvis Bott. Chris Gosling, Aidan Baldwin and Jodie Jones both prove you can't win the lottery if you don't buy a ticket. What wonderful strikes. I'll tell you what was weird. I'd gone with my mate for a coffee. Coffee, not alcohol, after the game. At a few of the Knoxs players go down there off Daleside Road, the Costa Coffee, on a little retail part. And I'm having my black Americano, extra large, and then in comes Aidan Baldwin. Well, crikey, well, I take that as a good sign that he's not too injured, because otherwise you'd have thought he'd have had 14 ton of ice or whatever. But yeah, so it's bizarre who you meet in a Costa. Beth, we know you've got to leave at 7:30 to get some sleep or whatever it is you'll be doing after a 23-hour flight. So fill us in. You've been pursuing your footballing dream. What you been up to down in Australia?
So I was in Melbourne last year for about 9-10 months. Captained the team to promotion, which is great. So I captained them to Tier 2 football in Australia. Beautiful time. It was amazing. I came back for a couple of months for Christmas. Flew back out in January to Perth, played a night series tournament. It's like a pre-season championship tournament. Did really well. I think we missed out on like finals by goal difference, which is frustrating. Played the first few games of the season, tore my quad, which is very frustrating. And then was only sort of able, I was out for a few weeks, was only able to sort of get 20-30 minutes in for a few games. And it was sort of a make or break week a couple of weeks ago. And I thought, you know what? I might, terminate the contract for now, fly home. And it just happens to coincide with the Knots game. So it worked out pretty well, to be honest. So I've come home to reset mentally, physically, financially, sort myself out. And then I'll spend summer here and just see where I'm at, I think. I've got offers from other clubs in Australia. I think that's where I'll probably end up spending some time. But yeah, no, it's been a wild ride, but I wouldn't exchange it for the world. It's been wonderful.
Now, we do have quite a burgeoning Australian Magpies setup, I know. Stuart Thorpe, I know, is one of the main guys down there. He is actually emulating or repeating your flight. He's flying in from Perth, I've seen, telling everyone on Facebook this week to come to the game. Is it easy to keep up with Knots down there? Can you get the video of the games, the commentary, and listen to this man here, Mr. Stellard?
Yeah, we can. I often got the commentary, which is it was so good to be able to keep it up that way. And then I could have access to the Vanarama National League passes. They did do internationally. It was a bit more difficult with the time difference. Obviously, I played Sundays, and so the time difference meant I'd have to stay up sometimes at 3-4 a.m. So I didn't watch as many as I'd like, but I tried my best and kept up with Twitter and seeing what everyone was saying. So that was good.
Andy Eason says, Beth, you picked up the Aussie twang already, me duck. Stell, be honest. What did you think of Knox's performance yesterday?
I actually thought it wasn't bad. Again, I'm going to sound like I'm strained at times. But, yeah, I actually didn't think it was bad. I thought we created chances against, let's not forget, the toughest statistically defence in the division, a team that, almost, I'm going to say a specialist cup team, but has better cup experience than Knots. They've had cup runs in recent years. So then one-off knockout games, you could argue, are more up their street. But I thought we opened them up. And look, ifs, buts and maybes don't make for any sort of conversation. But had Reuben taken one of his chances early on in the game,
Yeah.
we may well have seen a very different outcome to the game. Now, interspersed with a decent performance, there was some not decent defending, some mistakes, and we got punished, and we very nearly got badly punished. Thankfully, I mean, Aidan Baldwin, just after he scored, nearly went from hero to zero in the space of about 2 minutes when he didn't realise who was around him, and Unlove went in behind him, took it round Sam, and then he went back to hero again because he got the slightest stud on it that turned it onto the post and saved us from going 3-1 behind, which you think, well, that's just deflated everything the minute we've got ourselves back into the game. So I thought it was a decent performance. I thought they kept playing, kept probing, created chances, but just gave away too many chances than we would have liked, of course. So I think if we give them chances away against Chesterfield in the final, we could be struggling. I think they've got a little bit more potency in the final third. But I thought it was a decent performance. I thought it was a good performance, created plenty of chances against a really solid team, kept passing the ball, controlled the game for large moments, just them I say individual errors, but them moments where we just switch off. The high line defender. We've talked about runners from deep, how you break a high line, and that was how we got exposed for the first goal. And it's reactions, people's reaction times after something happens. So, there's things to work on. There's plenty to work on. Of course, there is. But I thought it was still a decent performance. We scored 3 eventually in the 120, 130 minutes, whatever was played with the added time. But it could have been 6. We said at the end of the game, it could have been 6-4, no problem, that game, with the good chances that both teams had.
Beth, you were watching. I saw you. You were watching with your family.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's a great experience to be back with your family and watching Knoxs with your family. Did you see us getting back in it?
I went. It was like Star said, it was a bit of a roller coaster. I was really confident, and then I'm gonna be honest. A few minutes to go, I turned to my sister and I was like, "That's it. This is it. Never mind, whatever." And I could hear everyone around me saying the same thing. Everyone had the same solemn look, and we just all looked at each other and were like, "Oh, never mind." And then my dad's little voice came from behind me, and he was like, "There's still time." There was about 3 minutes to go. There's still time, and I was like, "Oh, come on." And then I have never felt emotion at a game. Like mentioned before, obviously the Chesterfield game a couple of years ago was close, but just nothing to this magnitude. I mean, you can win a game and you can win it last minute and you can win it from a sloppy goal, but to win it in the manner that we did is something spectacular. And for a team, and I think we've sat here a few times with different teams and said, yep, I truly believe in they dig deep and the grit and determination, but I truly believe that this group of players is something special to a degree that we may never had before. And I don't think people sometimes may not understand what it takes, and that determination, that grit, and that resiliency to come back in the way that they did. The confidence must be at an all-time high. And it's funny that you said you saw Bolden, actually, because I went out to West Bridge with my friend today from Australia too, and we were having brunch, and about 6 of them walked in. They were looking happy, so and I chickened out of asking for a photo with them. I was just letting them enjoy the time. But yeah, a few of them walked into Bridgeford today and they looked in good spirits, so that's good news.
I know a few of the lads watch. Wherever you go, a brunch in West Bridgeford, coffee shop on the edge of Colic, you will be spotted, lads. Just just make sure Johnny Bostock don't lead you all astray. Stell, you know me, I'm nothing if not predictable. I've often banged on about no matter how well you dominate games and play, there will be matches where it's melting pot and you're probably lucky to still be in it. But you've always got a nick late winners, and Wrexham have been. We say they're lucky, but it's not luck, is it? We're not saying Knox were lucky yesterday. We're saying using the characteristics that Beth has just described. I've got to say, like Beth, I thought it had gone. 95th, 96th, 97th minute. And it was interesting, depending which way you look at it. And I've heard a bit of the commentary for the last goal. And Adam Summerton is talking about Knox sticking to their principles, passing the ball around, not resorting to long ball. There's a lot of people around me for the last 8 or 9 minutes. Get the ball in the box, God. Proof's in the pudding. We did, and we did it. An incredible sense of a feeling. Did you think we were going to get back in it in the closing stages?
Paul, I was going through that many emotions yesterday. I don't know what I was feeling. I think I was pretty numb for about 2 hours, to be honest. I don't remember thinking it had gone because with the time wasting I always thought, well, they put 7 minutes up there. There was a stoppage or a bit of a break, wasn't there, within the 7 minutes? So we knew there was going to be an extra minute or two. So I can't honestly say, hey, I wasn't sat there thinking, oh, we're definitely going to get an equaliser. Don't worry, this is all under control. But I just knew or felt that there was a chance. I think I kept saying it, repeating myself on comment, but I kept saying, is there one more chance? Is there one more chance? And you're right. You always hear the people. You hear people, get it in the box, get it in the mixer. Now's the time to launch it. And you go, well, that would be all well and good, but that would absolutely play into Boreham Wood's hands, wouldn't it? You look at the size of the three centre halves that they had against who we'd got to compete with them. That wasn't the way to do it, and we haven't launched the ball all season. So why would you? Why? What is Plan A and the way to play throughout the season that brings you success? Why would you ever go away from that when it matters the most, i.e., chasing a goal? Of course, you can't take 5 minutes to build up when there's a minute left on the clock, but there is a right time and a right way to get the ball in the box, and the equalising goal. I mean, I've watched it. Like I say, there's not many games I recorded the BT and I've watched it again today, and it was as good a game, having known the score. We would thinking, well, it's not as exciting when you know the score, but it was as good a game to watch. The thrills, the spills, the end-to-end nature of it, and just what happened and how it unfolded was unbelievable. But that equalising goal, the patience in the build-up with 95, 96 minutes on the clock, just epitomises the way that you play and the belief that if it works, you have to keep sticking to the principles of what works for you. We all want a plan B. And I've been one that said I would still like us to have a 6'3", 6'4" striker to bring off the bench, an Ollie Palmer type of player that Wrexham had, for the last 5 or 10 minutes to do something different, to offer something different. But they kept to the pattern. They were patient. They found the opening. Jody Jones bought himself half a yard and fired it into a dangerous area. And then the irony is you've got your centre half up in the 6-yard box, and he gets the touches in the right place and diverts the ball in. Now that is putting the ball in the box to score a goal, but it's not putting it in from the halfway line when you haven't got the tools in there to create problems. It's working your way there and allowing the team to get enough bodies in there to go, well, we've got a chance of getting on the end of this if we put it in with quality. And like I say, the gods were smiling on us, and it worked a dream.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say, Beth, we had to overcome an awful lot of adversity. We were always kind of chasing it a little bit, weren't we? From going behind, having missed good chances. We make it 2-1. Reuben, the penalty, we missed that. It felt like we couldn't quite get in front until the 23rd minute, 124th minute of the game. And there's one or two messages here kind of enunciating your point. Someone said that I've never felt as involved in a game at Knoxs ever. And I think families, young kids, it kind of had everything yesterday, didn't it? Kind of had everything.
Absolutely. And I think I read somewhere, I wrote this down, and forgive me if it's not true, but it says Jones scored the 120th goal for Knoxs in the National League this season in the 120th minute. And so it's sort of come very full circle, hasn't it? And I just, it's fantastic. And I just want to echo what Stal said as well, in that it's very easy for players and managers to panic when things are going not in our favour, change the tactic, change the style. But it's so important, and I think it really lends to the reason we won was we stuck to the game plan, the game management of players. When you look at people like Jim O'Brien, Carl Cameron, these are experienced players that know what they're doing. And there's one moment I want to mention as well, actually. I think it's the first goal that we scored. And it's not just about the goal, and it's not just about the strike. It's the entirety of the build-up and what everybody does off the ball. And there's a moment that Kyle Cameron pulls in and then pulls a player out, and it's just those little clever moments, and that means the player's stuck between Baldwin and Kyle, and he doesn't know which way to go, and that gives Baldwin the space to drive into, and that gave him the space to score the goal. And it's just little things like that it's the full picture. It's everyone's involvement and those little 5-yard movements and the small communications that we tend to either not focus on or forget or get caught up in it all. And it's just little moments like that of brilliance and game management and sticking to what you know and what works. We could have easily, gone to their level a little bit. That they didn't have periods of time, maybe 1 or 2, where they kept the ball with beautiful patterns of play in the way that we did. There was very much like hooking it over. They obviously, our high line landed itself well to them at times, but we stuck to what we knew, and it paid off. And it's just absolute proof that you do what you know works well.
Yeah, it's always like a coach's training ground session at the minute. One thing I always notice is you talk about the space that's created for Aiden to score that goal. Our wide men, if you notice, are literally under instructions to literally hug each byline. Literally, they don't, Bielsa school. They don't come more than a yard off that line to stretch to give as much space as possible. And Knoxs are certainly very, very well drilled in that. But what I thought was a little interesting, Stel, extra time. I don't know whether how much credit you give to Boreham Wood. I suspect because it warmed up a lot, didn't it, the day when I walked from Gedling and it was quite cold, and like the sun came out, it was quite hot, and Knoxs to me looked not far off as tired as Boreham Wood in that extra period. And I don't know what other people think. Midway through that second period of extra time, I would have taken penalties. I would have taken penalties just before Reuben came off, because a lot of people were speculating, can Reuben keep going? He's struggling and all the rest of it. I would have taken penalties at that point.
Wow, no, that surprises me, Paul. I would never have took penalties. I think.
I just thought they might. I don't know why. It's interesting because one of the guys has said, I thought we played very poorly, but watching it on telly, I think we played actually a lot better than I thought at the time. I've not watched it back on the telly, but I mean, being brutally honest, although we had large proportions of the ball, if I'm Luke Garrard and I'm a Boreham Wood player, I'm kind of saying to myself, how did we end up losing that? No.
Well, I think possibly, obviously, with the late nature of the goals, of course, it's the sort of reverse of what we felt against Grimsby last year, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, I like I said, you asked me the question. I intrigued to see how you felt, but I thought we played reasonably well. I thought we kept the ball. We created numerous good chances, not just, of course you have your half chances. That I'm thinking things like Macca in the first half, Reuben's ball into him where he's back to goal. He's got a defender tight on him. He's just trying to feel him by himself half a yard. Hits it on the turn, doesn't make contact. Shot on target. They're half chances at best. We created a number of them, but we created, well, in the first, I don't know what it was, 15 minutes, it wasn't even 15 minutes, I don't think, but Reuben in the first minute, second minute, at the back post, ball just bounced awkwardly, but it's a reasonable chance, a decent chance against Boreham Wood. Then Reuben, after 6 minutes, when Aaron the man gets to the byline.
It was 0-0. 3 good chances.
Absolutely. Really good chances. And then I'm thinking of other chances. Macca nearly bending one round the far post in the second half, one with his left foot, one with his right foot, one over the bar, numerous balls across. Matty Palmer drilling the ball. We had numerous, as they call now, entries into the penalty area, into dangerous areas. I say that surprised me that you didn't think I thought we played well without being absolutely at our best, but I thought we played well, but we were a little bit sloppy on too many occasions to give them good openings as well. So, I thought Knoxs played well and created against a solid defensive team. Created, like I say, 4 or 5 really, really good goal scoring opportunities that they should have done better with. And it becomes a different game.
What's your take, Beth?
I agree. I really enjoyed the way we played, and I actually spent all afternoon with the family rewatching it, and it just sort of solidified my view. I thought we did well. You know, it's all well and good having possession, which we had most of anyway. But I agree. I think we created far more chances and opportunities. Yes, we didn't put them away, but I thought in terms of danger in and around the box, I think Bolden had a few really good long range chances. There was a few errors as well, which I mean, football's football. You can't be 100% all the time, but like mentioned before, Chesterfield will punish us for that. Also, I want to mention Naman's sliding challenge to prevent their.
Yeah.
That was one of the best moments for me I've ever seen. And I just
Where's
said
it
that's
come
the best.
from? The bloke's just pulled across. We all got our goal. Oh, blimey! The man's appeared.
I've never seen anything like that. But there were moments of absolute brilliance, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought, as I said before, it wasn't maybe not at our absolute best, which I can forgive them for because it was a wonderful day. But I really appreciate the performance. I didn't think it was poor, or it was what I expected because I know we're a quality side. But yeah, I thought we played well.
Okay. Beth, before you have to leave, Wembley. So lots of people have been having a few issues today with Wembley's ticket system went down this morning. Have you got all your tickets sorted?
Yeah, we managed to get them after a few hours. And I could see everybody tweeting and people were saying there's problems. People didn't know where we were sitting, how to get them, where to park. And it was chaos for a few hours, but we've secured them. We go in, we know where we're parking. So everything's sorted after a lot of nervousness.
Are you going down on the day or going out on Friday? Are you going down on the day or on the Friday?
I think on the day. We haven't made any solid plans, but probably on the day we'll drive down, or up.
Yeah. Because Stell, obviously, the BBC are pushing the boat out for Stell and Charlie. They've both got executive 3-bedroom apartment suites in the Savoy.
You're joking. You were nearly right pushing the boat out. We're on a canal boat down there on Friday. No joke. Yeah, we are going down Friday. Yeah, we are overnight. But I don't know about any luxury. It'll be absolute bargain basement, I'm sure.
Yeah, and presumably Charlie is definitely doing the commentary. He's not going to be seconded for a Premier League game, is he?
Yeah, well, no, definitely, he's definitely doing it. That's as long as he's got a voice. He's been back on duty today. No rest for the wicked. He was doing the Northampton game today for 5 Live, I think. So, yeah, he was hoping for a quiet game there, but I think just so he could rest his vocal cords.
Beth, before you go, Heart and Head, Chesterfield. It's a local derby. I think it's fair to say that the games are always close, irrespective of league position. What's your take on it?
Big one. To be honest, I wanted Chesterfield. I want it to be a big day. I want it to be a big game. I think there's a lots of the local rivalry. They have a couple of ex-players. Obviously, Fitzsimons is in goal. Probably wants something to prove there. So I think that'll be an interesting thing. But equally, I mean, I'm confident, obviously, but it's gonna be huge. It's gonna be hard, but I think we need to watch out for those deep runs for sure because, as I say, the byproduct of having such a high line is you have to be on the ball all the time, watching your shoulder. Just takes one split second. And they have some fast forwards, and I think statistically a lot of their players have scored across the team. So I think there's multiple threats there. It's not just a one-man team. But I think we're the better side. I think we've got way more strength and depth. I think we've got across the board more quality. So I'm very confident it's gonna be a fantastic day, I think.
Yeah, because you would have probably been away. The game with Chesterfield down here was 2-2. When basically we weren't in it for 45 minutes to an hour, and then second half pulled it all the way round, and then it was a very competitive game up at their place. I think we won 2-1, didn't we? Dobra didn't endear himself, I think, to too many of the Notts County faithful, if I remember correctly. But so, are you actually pleased with playing Chesterfield rather than Bromley then?
Yeah, I am. I want it to be as big as a day as possible, and I just think it means that bit more when there's history between clubs. I really do, and I think maybe it will get to some of the players in the Chesterfield. I don't know, but I think we need to not be complacent. I don't think we will be, but a few games ago you wouldn't have thought they'd even be in this position. So they have equally as much grit and determination, and I don't know, versatility and resiliency as maybe we do. So it's going to be big. It's going to be hard, but it just feels for me that little bit bigger, knowing it's Chesterfield, and I don't know what it is, but I'm quite pleased.
That's good. Bring it on.
Yeah.
Beth, it's great to have you back on the show. Great to see you all again. Pleased it's gone well for a lengthy period of time in Australia, and speedy injury recovery. But enjoy Wembley, enjoy your time in Nottingham, and we'll look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
We'll carry
Cheers,
on
Ben.
now with
See you later, guys.
Right.
Cheers.
And we will remove Beth. Let's read a few, because there's literally hundreds, but I don't want to read them all out because my voice will give out. Let's have a look, see what we have got, because there is literally tons of stuff on the messages. The commentary cam says Kay has had 4.3 million views. 4.3 million. If only you'd had transfer fees worth that amount of money, you wouldn't need to be doing Radio Nottingham and the Magpie Circle podcast, would you?
I'd take the 0.3, leave the 4.
Sick. James Moore, one thing about Sunday, it took Reuben out the shop window for any clubs watching him. He really did have a mare. Well, he's done plenty about the rest of the season, but I guess you say it probably wasn't one of his top best games. Depends to an extent how injured he was and wasn't. Chris Gosling says, personally, I'd start Brindley on Saturday. We need some pace to help Naman deal with Colclough down the left. Stephen Newton got my ticket inside 6 minutes this morning. Must have been lucky. Stephen, you're the only other person I've come across. I got mine in about a minute and a half. I couldn't believe it. In, got my ticket, out. Block 102 I am, so near the halfway line. And then, of course, it's seen that the system must have crashed seconds later, and everyone is still trying 3 or 4 hours later. But look, I think everybody that wants, easy to say when you got one, everybody that wants a ticket will get one. Yeah, I'm absolutely certain of that. I mean, Stel, fair play the National League for booking Wembley, because it's going to be a great occasion, not Chesterfield. I would estimate certainly 50,000. I think, and let me know, everyone, how many Knoxs fans you think will go. I think we'll take 30,000. When you consider 15-odd thousand, I think there's lots of families, there's lots of new fans. This is the first opportunity for anyone under the age of 30 to go to Wembley. I think you're talking big numbers, and I'm guessing, Stel, the National League must have heaved a huge sigh of relief having booked Wembley, that it could have been Bromley versus Boreham Wood.
Absolutely, they have breathed a massive sigh of relief. It couldn't have happened any better for them, could it? This is the game. You're talking the difference between maybe, I don't know, 12 to 15,000 to 50,000, as you say, with Knoxs Chesterfield. So, like ever, I would encourage all Knoxs fans to go. Yeah, and I absolutely agree with Paul. For the younger generation who haven't had chance to go to Wembley, it's a fantastic opportunity, fantastic day out for them. And I can, from personal experience, obviously going back to that day in '96 when I was for Bradford, we took about 30,000 down there, and Knoxs probably only had about 10 or 11, 12,000. And that was because, obviously, they'd recently been to Wembley on numerous occasions, hadn't they? 91, 92, was it 93, yes. Something like that. So it became a bit old hat, a bit blasé, and obviously didn't get such a following for that game. And the difference it made coming out to see almost treble the amounts of fans as the opposite end, it made a massive difference to us that day. So I'm hoping that the number of Knoxs fans down there can do exactly the same for the Knoxs team. Absolutely pack out Wembley. The atmosphere yesterday was great, but the thing that stood out, the amount of black and white shirts, or Knoxs colours, flags, scarves, the whole lot, it was unbelievable. And the atmosphere yesterday was absolutely incredible. That matched the game, matched the experience, and we need to replicate that at Wembley. And if you do that, you just can't believe how big of a boost it gives the team and gives the players.
I'm glad you said black and white there, Stel. Yeah, because as you know, I've been sort of banging the drum a little bit today for black and white are Notts County's colours. If it's good enough for Juventus, it's good for us. And just that little nagging moment of doubt had crept into my mind, given you have away sponsorship contracts and home sponsorship contracts. Jake Bugg sponsors the away shirt in lavender. Access Training sponsor the home. And statistically, Notts won both their playoff finals in black and white. The black and white striped shirt you can see behind me in 1990 and 91. And whenever we've changed our colours, and we've not always had to, we changed our colours to, as you remember the kit, Stel, that garish yellow with like a black moniker down it. We played in that against you, not quite sure why. And then against Harrogate, we played in bottle green. Well, we didn't actually need to. But what I thought was interesting was the keeper, who's a big Notts fan for Harrogate, James Belshaw. He said, a massive Notts fan, whole family. He said, and it really helped him when he saw Notts were playing in green, because black and white stripes didn't remind him quite as much as his childhood trying to shut him out. So I thought, Chesterfield, we've got to play in black and white, not lavender. So I contacted the National League and they said, look, you've got first dibs on the choice of colours because you finished second. And I spoke to Nick and Nick got back to me and said, no, we're playing in black and white. And then, look, does it really make any difference as to whether we win or lose? I doubt it does, but us football lot are a superstitious bunch. And for me, Notts County are black and white, and black and white at Wembley. And let's hope we can make it a hat-trick of playoff wins in black and white. And like you said, let's turn all our end. We've got the East End, haven't we? We've got the East End, a sea of black and white. You maybe have not got a shirt, just everyone wear black and white and, turn it into a great theatre, great drama, great occasion. Because I think Notts have done very, very well in the last 12 months, certainly since COVID, with attracting newer fans. Because your worry had to have been when they dropped out the Football League that your supporter base crumbles. But I think the opposite, in the sense there are now, for me, a lot of new Notts fans, first year season ticket holders, young people coming down. And that's why it's just going to be such a great, great day for them, I think, at Wembley next Saturday. What's your take on Chesterfield? 50-50 or slight advantage yours? Because they were desperate as a former Football League club, I guess, as us, and a birthright, if you like. We should be back in the Football League. It's a different dynamic to a Boreham Wood or a Bromley, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I must admit, I differed from Beth. I would have rather played Bromley. But Chesterfield are a really good team. The league table tells you that, that the third best team or the best team behind Wrexham and behind Notts. And they've strengthened since we played them, obviously with Andrew Dallas, the signing of him from Solihull Moors. And I think he adds to their team. They've gone on a good run since he's joined. So, look, it's going to be a tough game. Whoever you play in a playoff final, you would never go into it expecting, this should be easy. I still say the same thing. If Notts play and play well, they win the game, because they are better than everybody else in this division when they play well, when they perform. But it's at Wembley. We saw that Harrogate game, that Notts team didn't perform, didn't perform in the first half, and the game was virtually gone. So the difference there being there was nobody there, apart from us, media were allowed, but there was no fans. It was an empty, soulless Wembley. This will be a different occasion. It'll be a fantastic occasion, but it'll be a really tough game, Chesterfield will play football. They won't be as direct as some of the other teams. They'll try and play the football, but they've got threats. But Notts have got more threats than any team in this division, the highest scorers in the division. It's going to be a game just like yesterday's. It'll be decided on what happens in both penalty areas. That's the way most football matches go. You expect Notts to maybe dominate possession in the middle of the park. Matty Palmer, John Bostock, if they're the two that start in there with Reuben. I don't imagine there's going to be many changes to the team, given that everyone's fit, not suffering any problems from yesterday, and that sets the platform for Knoxs. I think they set the tempo for Knoxs and create that base of possession with Reuben probing and looking to create and then get on the end of things as well. I just think, Knoxs will be favourites for it, but it's going to be such a tough game because Chesterfield are a really good team on their day. They can beat anybody. So again, you've got to turn up when it matters. And I thought, whether you heard Luke Williams' post-match interview about what he said at half-time to the players, yes. I thought that's really, really revealing and really good, because he said he asked them a question, about, can they ride when it matters, if you want to play at Knoxs and you want to be here for more than just a season or 2 seasons, or it's not about just doing it in the conference. It's not in the National League. It's not about just can you handle the pressure of players. It's if you want to go places in football in general, wherever you are, so be it at Knoxs County, you need to handle playing in big games, because you want to play in the big games because it means they matter and you're progressing and you want to go there. So it's not just about can you handle a National League game. We want to see if you can handle League 2 and League 1 when we get there, and playoff games at them levels. Or if you can't handle it, if you're showing me you can't handle the National League, you can't handle Boreham Wood, you can't handle Chesterfield, then you're not going to be able to handle a step up and a step up above that as well. So he asked them the question, they provided him an answer, a really, really solid answer, because all these questions and answers, they're answered on the pitch. And they did that, they performed, they got the goals, but they performed and showed that the occasion didn't get to them. They've got to show that again. It's an even bigger occasion, obviously, on Saturday, but it's just as big an occasion for Chesterfield, and it could affect Chesterfield just as much as it could affect Knoxs. But Knoxs showed yesterday that, and I know Chesterfield's, semi-final was a sort of bit of a Titanic one, but they were playing against 10 men for 45 minutes, weren't they, with extra time? So slightly different dynamic there. But Knoxs showed they've got the mentality for it, the mental fortitude, the toughness for it. When the chips are down, they've got to go and do it again.
James Shipley says, I was 10 years old at the Bradford final. I remember it feeling a bit sparse in the Knoxs end compared to the ocean of Bradford fans in the other, echoing exactly what you were talking about for that game earlier. Joseph Spinks, I think we'll take close to 30,000. It's been ages, and this team is different. Dale Piker says 3.25 hours to get our tickets on the computers today. Gary Smith has the top tier been opened up yet at Wembley? That will give you an idea of how many sold. Not yet, or it certainly wasn't just before the show was done. Andy Eason, there's always a thing at Wembley finals years ago about who got what dressing room. I've not taken the cudgels up on that one, Andy. I'm not so worried about that one. I was more worried that I would be seeing Knoxs in black and white. To do Andrew Racing, our first trip to the new Wembley should encourage bigger numbers. I'm certain it will. I think, and I have seen a few people post messages tonight, I guess the challenge for some people at the minute will not ultimately be getting match tickets, and ultimately people will find the money somehow. People make exceptions to do something special. Bucket list for many people who've not seen Knoxs at Wembley. But I think there is a challenge at the minute on transportation issues. Trains aren't running, or you can get some there but you can't get back because there's a train strike. And coaches are incredibly hard to book, and I think even Knoxs themselves are finding that difficult, and I think there's waiting lists for people to get on coaches. So I think a lot of people are going to have to end up driving down there. Just go early. If I was you, go as early as you can, and if you can even break the journey up, get a hotel, like Stell, get an Ibis, somewhere off Junction 11 of Luton somewhere, break the journey up, because obviously Forest will be going mob-handed down to Chelsea. So there's going to be an awful lot of people on the road, but I think a lot of people will perhaps have to go on the road to get there. You've got an extra half an hour, don't forget. It's 3:30 kickoff as well now. David Amy, looking at 50,000 in total, the crowd. Sourcing coaches, the main problem with the rail strike. James Moore, I'd have rather been playing Bromley, but after that performance, we're ready for anything. Chesterfield couldn't beat us at their ground. We're certainly, I can't read that bit, and the game is there for, favourites, and the game is there for the taking. Adi Clark, now Adi's an interesting one, Stel. So Adi's family, I think, used to run the TBI, which I'm sure you never went in as a Knoxs player, being a supreme athlete, the pub on the corner where Trent Bridge, I think it was his dad. His family ran it for many years. And he's a big Knoxs fan. He's a good lad. And have a guess where he lives now.
Oh, well, anywhere in the world.
I'm thinking with reference to Saturday's game.
Well, Chesterfield then.
Yeah, he lives in Chesterfield. So, so I trust, Adi, you are wandering around in your black and white shirt, okay? Because you won that Kel Roberts match worn shirt on one of my competitions, didn't you? I doubt that'll fit you, but put that on your young'un or something. Wander around in pride. Mick Dundee, he's not happy. Mistakes in defence showed Knox's weakness. Would like to see Knox play out quicker from the back. It's Jarius. I've physically been calling numerous coach companies, but difficult to get one. Obviously not helped with Chesterfield going, so even if you go to Derbyshire, all their buses will be hired out, I'm sure, as well. Keith Mullins, thanks for going ballistic when Knox equalised, Stel. I shouted that loud, I woke the wife up, lol. Chesterfield have strengthened since we last played with Dallas, etc. They are very good individuals. Knox the better team, but our big players do need to contribute on Saturday. Reuben and Maca, a game needed. That's an interesting one. Stel. A lot of managers will talk about big players need to step up in the big games. And I suppose on the really, 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 really grand scale, this was an accusation at Messi for a long time with Argentina, wasn't it? Having said that, we're in the final. We got through on Sunday, and Reuben didn't score, Maca didn't score. So we've shown we can do it. But I think given what you've said about Chesterfield posing a stiffer test, how important are Knox's chances of winning are Reuben and Maca finding the back of the net?
Oh, it's been the same as all season, and that the quote of big players performing in big games, extend that to all players need to perform in big games. And I go back to what Luke Williams was alluding to with his half-time conversation, question, team talk on Sunday. You have to perform when it matters. You have to perform throughout the season, and you have to perform certainly in big, important games. If you don't, that affects how big of a player you are. Because, say, doing it at Maidstone away or doing it, with all due respect to any of these sort of teams in a league game, that's fine. But as we go up through the levels, and I'm sure that's what he was getting at with the players, look, if you want to go on this journey where we're hoping Notts County are going to go, then you've got to think bigger. You've got to accept that there are big games. You've got to accept the pressure, and you've got to accept that that's what I want. You've got to thrive in that. You've got to want that. You've got to love that. You ask most players, I'm sure they love playing in front of 50,000 when there's promotion on the line, rather than, a wet Tuesday in Wealdstone or wherever it may be. I'm not casting aspersions on anybody that actually named there, but you've got to think bigger. This is say it again. This is the lowest level that Notts have ever played in, ever. In for the last 4 years, in a 100-year plus history. So if this is almost too big, what chance have you got when we step up? So Reuben and Maca and all the players, they've contributed brilliantly this season, all of them, and they need to perform just as well this Saturday. It's, this isn't the biggest game. If this is the biggest game they ever play in, something's gone wrong, because they're better than this level. Macca is better than this level. Reuben is better than this level. Most of Knoxs players are better than this level. You could say the same for Chesterfield as well. There's some good players who could live it and cut it in the league. You look at some of the former Knoxs players, and I'm talking recent history former Knoxs players who haven't done anything with Knoxs, but are now playing in the league and doing well in the league at the level above. So players always have to perform, whether there's pressure on every game, but when the pressure magnifies and intensifies, all players have got to step up and cope with it. And coping with it means performing just as you do on a Tuesday night at Wealdstone or a Saturday at Maidstone, as at Wembley in front of 50,000 against Chesterfield, because that is the stepping stone to get you to the next level. And if you can't handle that, then you're never going to get to that next level. Or when you get to that next level, you're not going to succeed. So Macca and Reuben, there is no extra pressure on them as there is any pressure on anybody else. If Knoxs play and play to the best of their ability, they win the game. But that takes everybody in the 11, the 14 with subs, the whole squad. That takes everybody doing what they've done many, many times this season. And as we saw yesterday, even when the chips are down, the backs are to the wall, and it looks like it's not going to be your day, they've got the quality and the wherewithal to drag something out of it. They've got to do it one more time.
AD Clark responding to my call for him to be decked out in Knoxs colours, says, "Got the full kit on right now, Paul." I bet Mrs. Clark is pleased, ADA. We won't go any further than that. As a Wrexham fan, says Phil Davis, my advice: stop the silly mistakes at the back, and you'll win. Good luck, and see you next season in the EFL. Chris John Wright, good luck to Knoxs, and see you next season in League 2. Zedo, maybe the owners will get Reuben's family over. That usually finds him that extra 10%. Andrew Rayson, hats off to Wealdstone for opening up their car park stroke ground for Knoxs to park at, so they can get the train. I saw that, yeah. I think Knoxs have already sold all of those tickets to fans. I don't think there's any room to park there and get the Central Line or whatever it is in from there. Wembley, big pitch, bowling green, sure it'll be beautiful. How much can that give an advantage to Knoxs, given the way we like to play the game?
It can give us a massive advantage if you make use of it. If you dominate the ball, that's what you need to do on a big pitch. You need to dominate the ball, make the opposition work, make them run. Because of the, historically, aren't they? People are like, oh, it's a leggy pitch, Wembley, and like I say, I've not had much experience of it, but having played there, yeah. But it's the adrenaline and the emotion of the occasion, I think, more than the actual pitch, because Port Vale's pitch is bigger, wasn't it? But historically, again, and that wasn't a bowling green; that was covered in sand and mud and all sorts. But you never sort of seemed to feel quite as leggy at Port Vale because the occasion was never the same. So it's more important to move the opposition around, tire them out, use the ball, make the pitch big. It's the same as anywhere, same as at Meadow Lane, same as anywhere. When you've got the ball, you need to make the pitch big, and when you've not got the ball, you need to compact. Be in touch with each other. You could argue, when you look at some of the ways Boreham Wood exposed Knoxs High Line yesterday, you could argue a big pitch would help Chesterfield, because that can expose that sort of high line again. Again, it's down to which team performs on the day, which team executes everything better, the shape and keeping the ball and their attacking possession. I think we've got the weapons to hurt Chesterfield. I don't think Chesterfield's. I think Chesterfield's defence can be got at. I genuinely do. Macca scored 3 of the 4 goals we've scored against them this season. Yeah. I think they can be got at. So a big pitch, if they've got loads of attacking threat, do not worry about that. They've got attacking threat. But if the game becomes a little bit stretched, it then becomes, like I say, what happens in both penalty areas, who can make the other team pay the most. And if Knox can control the game by having the ball, the opposition can't hurt you. So it has been Knox' sort of formula for success all season. And on Saturday, it's got a chance of being a formula to achieve the ultimate success.
James Moore says, wouldn't it be nice if we got an early goal or two? It would indeed. Instead of giving us all heart attacks. We've not truly dominated a game for a little while now. Let's impress from the start Saturday, please. Andy Eason. One thing that has been at the back of my mind since we dropped to this level is to get back and have the oldest Football League club in the world repainted onto the Jimmy Cyril. Yeah, I always think that's a massive misnomer, Andy. We're the oldest professional football club in the world, full stop. Have been since 1862. But I know what you mean. I mean, what is the Football League? Does the Football League not include the Premier League? Is the Football League just the EFL? The Vanarama League, is that not a football league? I always think it's a bit, not quite sure. It's Jarius. It's a wide pitch at Wembley, so the wingers will love it there. So you've played at Wembley, and I'm sure it must have been one of the highlights of your career. And both Knoxs and Chesterfield players, I don't think there's too many played in the Premier League or anything like that. What can Wembley do to, what you would call the non-international players, the players that don't go off to the Euros and all of the rest of it? What are the pluses? What are the dangers?
Well, it's the same but magnified, I would say, as to what we've been saying about teams coming to Meadow Lane this season. Again, Maidstones. That's as big a stadium as probably a lot of them will have played in. Wembley magnifies that on another level. Now, Knox players will be inspired by playing at Wembley, or I hope they will be inspired to be playing at Wembley. This is not something that comes around every other week. This doesn't happen. I was lucky to have a long career, and I got to play there once. So you don't take it for granted. You can't take it for granted, and it can affect performance. Again, the occasion can affect you. Negatively or positively. We obviously want Knox players to be positively affected by it. Here's my chance to shine on the biggest stage with loads of people watching. I want to be a hero. I want to be the best player on the pitch. I want to show people, what I can do, what we can do as a team. I want to prove that we are the best team. What you don't want, and what can happen, and I would argue to this day, what happened when we played Harrogate was, despite no fans being there, we froze. Our players froze a little bit, became a little bit awestruck, a little bit this is Wembley. Or do we have to, and it's almost like, do we do the same things here? I don't. And it took us 45 minutes to get to grips with it. And by that time, the game had gone. Now, we don't want that to happen. And that's part of the mental preparation you've got between yesterday and Saturday, that the players will be running it through in their head. What's going to happen? What's it going to be like? I don't know when they'll go down. Traditionally, sometimes you go down a couple of days, and spend a couple of days down there. I don't know what the plans are with it being sort of late on. They might just go down overnight. I don't know. But it's how you cope with big occasions. Again, a lot of what we're talking about tonight is more about the psychology and the psyche of football, as opposed to anything technical, anything tactical. It's the psychology of dealing with something out of the norm. Some players can't handle playing somewhere like Meadow Lane with 15,000 in it. That can, I can freeze. Some players can absolutely flourish at that, because that's it. It's introvert, extrovert type of thinking. But Wembley takes it on another level, and especially if there's 50,000 there, then that just becomes an unbelievable atmosphere and occasion that players at this level or lower levels don't come across. That is, as young boys, we all young boys and girls, we all dream of playing in World Cup finals, matches where there's 100,000 people there and we're all scoring the winning goals or whatever it might be. But this is as close to, or could be as close to, achieving your dream as a lot of these players will ever get. And it's what that does to you mentally to affect what you do physically. Do you, I don't want to make a mistake on the big stage, so I'll just do everything safe? Or do you go, stick your chest out and go, I want to be the star here, give me the ball, I want to show what I can do? Now, just by doing that, you can have the ball and start trying to beat three men and lose the ball every time. That's not helping your team as well. So what it means is stick your chest out. I want to be the star by doing exactly what we do, and we do it well. We pass the ball well, we move, we work our socks off, we work harder than the opposition, we cut through the opposition, and we are clinical with our finishing. That's got to be the mentality. I'm going to do exactly what we've done all season, and I'm going to do it at Wembley in front of a big crowd, and I'm going to be successful at the end of the day. That's what you've got to have, that mentality, not to have a mentality to go, I'm now going to do something different that has got us here.
Good insight. Right, and I make myself look a bit of a fool here. NJ73. He's not written in English. He's written in Italian, and obviously me being fluent in Italian. Noi della Juventus tifiamo per vicersi e cavetti, dato questi colori leggendari. Forza Knoxs, vivagliamo di nuovo tra I professionisti. Is that good, Stel?
Well, yeah, I'll take your word for it. I've no idea what you said. It could have been very offensive to me. I don't know. I got the word Juventus out of that, and Knoxs.
Yeah, Juventus and Forza Knoxs. I know the
Yeah.
Juventus branch of the Knoxs Supporters Club have booked 50 or so tickets, and all. So I'm assuming
Yeah,
Mr. NJ73 is one of those, and I think Professionisti. I think he's talking about Go Notts County, the oldest professional club in the world. Possibly. There you go. Bit of Italian. Right. Right. We're getting on to the nuances. You stick to the same team, Stel. I mean, there's a few of the guys here making a case for Jody Jones, and I guess that is based on the fact that he created with his cross, the drop in the shoulder, the goal that brought us back into it at 2-2. And from the long corner, or them short corner, we took a long one, didn't we? And he's dropped the shoulder outside the box and put it in. Same team, or would you look to make any changes? Assuming
everyone's fit, I think it will be the same team.
Yeah,
I think if that's the best team yesterday that he thinks to win the game, I don't see what changes particularly to make it the best team to win the game Saturday. Now I'm doing it now. Saturday. Jody Jones came on and did unbelievably well. Set up a goal, scored the goal, and hey, if he made a change and Jody Jones start, that's absolutely fine by me. That's not weakening the team. If he thinks he would have the assets and the attributes to cause Chesterfield more problems, then that's absolutely fine. But I would imagine same team that started the game. I can't. Somebody there said about Richard Brindley, and I understand the argument about the pace. But he's not had a lot of football recently. I think Connor Rawlinson's done absolutely nothing wrong. Again, the getting caught out with a high line is not an individual thing; it's a collective thing. The defenders are doing their job, squeezing up, but then you've got to be able to be on the half turn when the ball goes over. You've then got to react. The midfield runners ran off Matty Palmer's shoulder, and it's just took a split second too long to react for the first goal. Is there enough pressure on the ball to actually squeeze up? Should they just hold and wait? Say, look, we'll keep our gaps, we'll keep our distances. There's a lot of things that go into them things. It wasn't just one player. And I've just got so much sympathy for Connor Rawlinson because he is the player that always misses out as well. But football sentiment doesn't play a part in what the team should be. I don't think Richard Brindley's played enough football lately to warrant the starting berth. I think again he's good to have coming off the bench. Knott's bench is strong and will be strong whoever gets picked on Saturday. But it's great to have them options as well to come off the bench. And I thought interesting as well that we barely got to mention, but Archie Mayer, for a big knockout game, they put a goalkeeper on the bench. Luke Willis put a goalkeeper on the bench for the first time, other than when he's really had no other players fit to choose from. So, interesting selection. But again, he'll not have a tougher team selection than picking a team to play at Wembley, because you've got to have them conversations with players to let them down, if you like, on the biggest potential game of their careers. You know, there's players will be hoping to sneak in. They'll have an inkling. The players will have an inkling. It's not going to be too dissimilar to what the team and the makeup of the subs was yesterday. But there'll be one or two just on the cusp. Oh, please, hope he sticks with me. Hope he sticks with me, whether that's on the bench, whether that's in the team. I hope he doesn't think we're going to change it. So there'll be one or two players just a little bit nervous for their place, because don't get me wrong, you can have the best team spirit in the world, but you are not wanting to give up your place in the team for anybody else in the squad. So look, it's a tough job being a manager. Not always, even when it's going as well as Luke Williams has gone in his first season. But letting players know they're not going to be playing at Wembley when all their family and friends and all that potentially are going to be there. That is the tough, cutthroat part of the job and part of the sport. But then I think once that's done, I think everybody's behind the whole team, the whole squad, the whole group. This is a special Notts County team and dressing room. You know, for the level that we're at, it's a phenomenal team, and we just hope that they perform on Saturday and get the job done.
Martin Shipley says Chesterfield have lost 12 times this season to our 3. They've scored 84 compared to our 120. They've conceded 54 to our 44. The stats show we are the better team on all fronts. James Moore, we need to be confident. We are an awesome team without a doubt. We were so unlucky not to win as champions. So this is our moment at Wembley to show what we are all about. Buster Bricks Mills, what a great nom de plume that one is. Listened to Radio Nottingham yesterday. Fantastic commentary. Loved it. Well done, Notts County. And here's the kicker. We are Stoke. Yeah, it's amazing who listens in, isn't it, Stoke? You said about a community. We've got the Stokies joining us as well. One thing to pick up before we wrap up. It's well documented that Notts under Neil Ardley went down on the day of the game to Harrogate, and as we all know, we didn't really turn up. Part of the rationale for that, I was told, was clearly was COVID. So everywhere's empty. Yeah, you ain't gonna have any problems going down the motorway. It's going to take you 2 hours 10 minutes to Wembley, right? Because there's nothing else on the roads. And part of it was that apparently quite a few of the players were as comfortable going on the day as they were going overnight. When we had Neil Warnock on doing the excellent show last week, Neil said, that really surprises me. You know, Neil had a routine going down there, different preparation, getting down there early, staying at the same Wembley Hilton, all of those sorts of things, and making it into an occasion. I don't know what Luke is doing with the players this coming Saturday. I'd be very surprised if he isn't taking them down at least one night before the game. Harrogate, I think, went down for 2 and trained at Arsenal's training ground, London Colney. Clearly, it's horses for courses, Stell. And I don't know whether you can remember back to Bradford when you went down. Ordinarily, this would be treated as a special game rather than any other game. And normally you would travel overnight before a game that's any more than an hour and a half drive anyway, wouldn't you?
Yeah, pretty much. Like I say, I think COVID played a large part in why Notts went down on the day when they played Harrogate. So I can't remember exactly the build. I know we went down. I think when again a million years ago when I went down there, I think we went down 2 nights before, because I seem to remember. If you remember, they play the playoff finals one day after each other, don't they? And us being League One, Cammy wanted to take us to Wembley to see, get a feel for it, and we went to watch the League Two playoff final, which was, I think, was the Saturday.
Yeah,
as we were the Sunday, or we were the middle game anyway, the League One playoff final. So we went the day before. Now I'm assuming we went down the night before or the day before, trained down there, stayed overnight, went to Wembley on the Saturday in preparation for us playing on the Sunday, as I remember. And I wouldn't imagine that is that was too, out of left field. I think most clubs sort of spent a couple of nights down there because it is different. You maybe want to acclimatise, whatever, but everyone's different, of course there is. But there's no way they'll go down on the day this year. Just as you mentioned, Forest are down at Chelsea. The motorway will be jam packed if nothing else. Whether they go down Thursday or Friday, that's down to Luke Williams' call and what they want to do and what budget allows. It's not cheap, is it? Obviously, hotels for 25, 30 people. So they'd at least be going down Friday, possibly Thursday. But either way, we hope it's a Knoxs team that's as prepared as they possibly can be for one massive final game and one chance to write themselves in Knoxs history.
Congratulations and good luck in the final, says Top Cat. James Ford, yes, I do believe that the COVID final against Harrogate was a completely different experience. I think we could go on all night, but we won't. I think our voices, as much as anything else,
I'm not sure my voice could. Yeah.
Oh, dear me. Look, wonderful theatre, wonderful occasion on Sunday, and we look forward to, well, it certainly is going to be a momentous day in the club's history. Let's hope we come out on the right side of that. You'll be going down Friday, Stel, so will I.
Yep.
If you are going down on the day, please give yourself as much time as you possibly can, particularly if you do it. Particularly if you're doing any driving, you don't want to be worrying about getting down there. Stanmore is a regular haunt for people to park up at. Don't forget the underground is working as normal. So if you can get somewhere near London and work out then Jubilee line, Metropolitan line, in and out of Wembley, those services are running absolutely fine. It's only the main national rail that have got the strikes. So have a great day, everyone. Look forward to seeing everyone. Wear your black and white shirts with pride. I'll be wearing one of these too. The 1990-91 double playoff winning shirts. Stel, have a safe journey down.
Yep.
And may there be many more get-ins uttered on Saturday.
I hope there's about 6. I'd feel confident with 6 get-ins that we are going to be in the league next season.
See you at Wembley, says Jurgen. Dave Woolley, I'm coming in from Pembrokeshire. Cool, that's a trek. Mick Dundee, Knoxs 3-1. Come on, you pies. Thank you for listening in tonight. Hope you've been successful getting your ticket today. If you've not got one yet, please don't worry. You will get a ticket. I promise you, you will be able to get into the game. Famous last words now. If Wembley, for some reason, say they're not going to open the upper tier, you will get in. You will. Once more unto the breach, says Stephen Newton. Indeed it is. Stel, thank you very much for your time as always tonight. Look forward to catching up again soon. Cheers for now. Bye-bye.
Cheers.